multi-dimensional beings, then we need to hold on to each one of those layers. You can't say, well, just take the jihad out of you and you'll be rock and roll and that's fine, right? So rock and roll for me, again, for people in, like, it's interesting when I talk about this book in Pakistan, they look at the title and they say, why would you use the word rock and roll next to jihad? You know, couldn't you have just titled it jihad? And in America, it's like, why would you put jihad next to rock and roll? And the reason is that we straddle east and west, and all of that is part of our being. And rock and roll for me means social justice, freedom, right? Those are the things that come through it. You know, I sift through, just like I sift through the jihad part, not the definition that comes from the extremist, you know, which is blow yourself up, but or for rock and roll jihad, all the sort of hedonistic images that come up, I sift through it. I see what's the power of rock and roll. It has the power to unite, to voice, you know, freedom, to give voice to the voiceless. So that's the reason I didn't call it Whisper of the Heart.
It's jihad for environment, jihad for HIV, jihad against terrorism.
Okay, I want to get some more questions in.
We have a great audience there, right?
Okay, the gentleman here in white shirt.
What's changed between the time of Bulleya, when Aurangzeb banned music, and you know he sang, and the time now that you're talking about? What's changed?
Sure. So great question. So Bulleya, for those who don't know, probably one of the most influential poets of the subcontinent, who, you know, born 1680, you know, lived through the early sort of middle 18th century, 1680, 1758. And there's a story about Bulleya which moved me in a big, big way. And he hit upon a question which is a universal question. He was in a mosque, he was getting ready for prayers, doing the wuzu, and there was this question which was swirling in his mind and his heart. And the teacher said, well, you know, get ready, everybody's, you know, standing in line. He said, what's the point of me washing my hands and my feet and my face if my heart is not clean, you know? So, I mean, the question just rocked, you know, Shah and I. He said that these rituals are sacred. There's no room for debate here. You can't question this. If you want to ask these questions, you leave the masjid. So Bulleya then walked. I consider him the original rock and roller also, in great respect. He grew his hair long. He tried to dress. He dressed outrageously. He played this one-string instrument called the iktara. And one of the earliest poems that he came up with, Bulleya ki jana main kaun. Bulleya, who am I? Who am I? And in this, and on the new album that's coming out, you know, June 1st, I do a version of this poem, you know, set to a very rock, funk, you know, arrangement. He says, I'm no believer in a mosque, I have no pagan ways. I'm no believer in a mosque, I have no pagan ways. I'm not pure, I'm not vile, I'm no Moses, I'm no Pharaoh. Who am I? And if you allow me, I'll just sing a little bit of it for you, you know? And it'll connect to the question that you just asked. Na me Musa, na me Musa, na Firon, na me Pakave Chipalita, na me Musa, na Firon. na main moman vich masita, na main vich kubur di rita, na main moman vich masita, oh, na main vich kubur di rita, na main aakon vich galita, na main Musa, na Firar, Bulleya, ki jana main kaun, Bulleya, ki jana main kaun. Na main aabi, na main haki, na main aabi, na main haki, na main aatish, na main kaun, na main aatish, na main kaun, Bulleya, ki jana main kaun. So it's relevant. It's always going to be relevant. It's the whisper in the heart. You know, time doesn't make. You know, people think, oh, those are the times. Well, life is cyclical. You know, you keep asking the same questions and get new answers.
Okay, we'll take the gentleman there, who had a question, and then I'll come to you, and then you next, yeah.
Thank you, Salman. I've actually forgotten my original question
Okay.
because just struck by what you sung there. But I was just right at the beginning when you started speaking to us about the confluence of factors that came together that really inspired you. I keep thinking, you know, I was born here, but my parents obviously in Pakistan and back and forth, and I remember growing up and hearing that thing of music is bad, you know, and that was, and they lived the majority of life here, and that obviously affected me. And funnily enough, Led Zeppelin certainly turned me onto something too. So, you know, it connected to something very deeply in the way you've been describing. And I was just putting together when you said that the first song that you guys did, and what an effect that had. And I keep thinking there's the passion in the Pakistani or the Muslim heart, and how, you know, to unleash that seems to be what, you know, you're responding to, and you want to ignite in others. And has that, do you see change in that? Do you feel that that's happened more since the Rockstar and the Bulleya film? Do you feel this progression? Do you feel people are owning their own passion in the right kind of way? Because I feel in that part of the soul, there's a sense of, like, you know, there's a lot of passion locked away, and there's a lot of layers, and there's lots of different reasons why there is that, you know, cultural, religious, you know, repression, but there's also the spirit as well. And I just wanted to speak to you about that. You know, how do you feel that's changing, or?
Well, you know, my role is really not to sort of quantify change, but more to create.
Right.
Create, you know, and whether it's a book, you know, it took me 3.5. You know, writing a book is actually much, for me, much harder than writing songs, because it's a very lonely process, you know, and you have to expose different layers of yourself. So whether it's storytelling, whether it's music, you know, the new album, Roll Jihad, tells a story through metaphor and melody, or doing documentary films. I have to keep doing that, right? And hopefully through this dialogue, and this is what I'm hoping, that through the dialogue of City Circle, that you also will be inspired to carry that dialogue, you know, within your networks and your family and your friends, that it's not one person who comes, who brings change. It's a whole sort of loose network. So it's a critical mass of people, and they come from, and I'm a big believer